Miami kicked off a 3-game homestand on Monday night, but were outclassed by one of the hottest teams in the league. We'll break it all down, give player grades, and ask why Miami's lack of athleticism and size might finally have caught up to them. All that and more coming up next.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, Heat Nation. It's a Tuesday edition of Locked On Heat, your daily podcast covering all things Miami Heat. However, you may be listening on YouTube, Odyssey, or your favorite podcast app. Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. I'm David Ramil, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Wes Goldberg. This episode is brought to you by Truebill. Truebill is the new app that saves you money by helping you identify and stop paying for the subscriptions you don't want or need, and can even negotiate better deals on those you want to keep. Miami welcomed back Jimmy Butler to the starting lineup on Monday, but it was evident early on that Jimmy looked a little rusty after missing the past 3 straight games. Kyle Lowry had a big first quarter to keep them close, scoring 10 of his 17 points in the period, but then Butler was knocked to the ground again in the first half, and Miami seemed to lose all momentum against a very energetic Grizzlies team. The Heat would make runs throughout the game and got 24 points from Lowry Herro, but eventually, like it says in the Big Lebowski, sometimes you get the bear and sometimes the bear gets you. Miami got bad. A 104-90 loss that puts Miami's record at 14-11. We'll break down more of the game in a minute. But the story of the game, at least to me, Wes, was the potential loss of Jimmy Butler, who may have rushed to return too soon and will likely miss even more time after aggravating his injury. You were at FTX Arena on Monday night. Do you have any updates on the Jimmy Butler injury?
The only thing that Eric Spoelstra would say after the game, I suppose it's the only thing he could say, really, is that he really re-aggravated the injury. He's really sore after the game, and that they'll reevaluate him Tuesday afternoon, and that we'll get an update at some point after that, and then we'll figure out whether or not he'll be available for Wednesday night's game. But it was a little concerning in that game that even before he landed on that tailbone, you could sort of see him laboring through it. He was moving different. He wasn't as fast as he was. He wasn't getting as high on those jumps as he usually was. And for the most part, you're like, all right, look, you're back home. You've been out. If it's you kind of leave it up to the player. Hey, can you play through this? Even Jimmy Butler at 80% was better than no Jimmy Butler at all. We were just talking about how many problems were cropping up with Jimmy Butler out of the lineup. So I didn't have a problem with him playing necessarily, but it took one fall. It was a hard fall, but it took one fall for him to re-aggravate that thing. And afterwards, he stays in the game. Miami was down 14 points in that first quarter. I just thought, like, as soon as that happens, he went to the locker room right away. Just take him out, man. Just no point in him playing. He stays in the game, picks up a technical by yelling at the ref for some reason, and then you could just watch him, man. And he just did not look right at all. And the fact that he played, 25 minutes in that game.
Yeah.
He comes out in that third quarter, and I tweeted at the time, like, we're not seeing this guy again. Like it got progressively worse as the game went on. And so we didn't. Too little, too late. I hope he didn't aggravate it so much that he's got to miss more time, but I would guess that he probably does, but who knows? I mean,
look, again, I'm not playing a doctor here, but it seems like that kind of injury is like once you fall, whatever contusion, whatever soreness you get, you're not necessarily making it worse by just kind of standing upright. He's not sitting other than sitting on the bench, so maybe it's not getting any worse. But he was struggling with basic motions, like just walking. He looked like a 90-year-old man out there, not exactly a look for your highest paid player. So, it was weird. Like, he was really rusty at first. Like I mentioned before, he finished 4 of 13. I had no idea how bad he was. But even before he re-aggravated the injury, he was just like missing layups, missing easy shots, just looked a little step slower than normally. And, the Heat broadcasting crew kept giving him credit, saying, kudos to Jimmy for playing through it. But it's like, I don't know about that. At some point, I know he wants to stay out there. I know he's determined and everything else, but he wasn't exactly helping either. Like, as to your point, 80% Jimmy is great and you need him out there. That was more like 25% Jimmy at best. Even before after he got hurt, he was just like a shell of himself. I don't know.
He was missing just easy layups, easy gimmies and then some tougher ones, but ones that he usually makes. That's why he's one of the best 10 players in the league, is because he makes those shots. I covered the Warriors last year, and Steph Curry had a tailbone issue last season. He missed 6 games and wasn't right for a little while when he
Right.
got back. And look, every player's made differently, and every
Different,
injury
sure.
is different. But Jimmy Butler missed 4 games and not 6, and Steph Curry missed 6 in the middle of a major playoff push, like when the Warriors were making that run at the end of the season. Like this is December, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
November going into December for Jimmy Butler. So maybe they did rush him back. I don't know. We also know that Jimmy Butler has a very high pay tolerance and he wants to be out there. Not saying Steph doesn't. I'm just, again, specific to Jimmy Butler. But this is like in my experience covering a player with a tailbone injury, like that messed up Steph for like about a month. Like this is like a tailbone injury can really mess a dude up. And we're seeing that right now with Jimmy Butler. And I think this is something that could linger. Even if he plays Wednesday, like he's not gonna be 100% Jimmy Butler. And so
No.
you have to ask yourself if you're the Heat, all right, is 80% Jimmy Butler worth putting him out there? Yeah, probably. I don't know. Like you gotta. It's not. You can't like break it more. The tailbone. You just sort of keep re-aggravating it if you fall down,
Yeah,
and you
but
have
that's gonna happen. Like, it's not to say that Steph isn't,
right.
physical and get tossed to the ground. He just doesn't
But he's
take
not
the
like
same
not like
shots.
Jimmy. Right.
No.
Not like Jimmy. Most of his game is beyond the arc. It's a finesse game,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
he's the best ever at it.
He
But
can still score 30 points from
right.
never getting to the hoop, so
And
Jimmy
Jimmy
can't do
Butler's not doing that anytime soon, right? Jimmy Butler's not going to start launching 14 threes a game. So I don't know. You got to figure it out. But I'll tell you this: if you're getting Jimmy Butler like you got in that second half, that second quarter, that third quarter, no, you don't play him because that
not
Jimmy
working.
Butler wasn't helping you at all.
Look, Miami had a slew of problems. They just couldn't seem to do anything right. They were struggling offensively, struggling defensively at times as well. I mean, they had many runs throughout the game, but it just seemed like they lacked an overall sense of energy, something we talked about in yesterday's episode. So we'll talk about that in the third segment. But something else that we brought up yesterday, which seems to be a recurring problem for this team, is the rebounding issue. Obviously, they're without Bam Adebayo. Dwayne Dedman was fine. Omer Yurtseven was mostly unplayable. You don't have much of a starting big out there. Caleb Martin was playing the 4 for most of the game. I think, what did he play? Like something like
Caleb Martin,
31
31
minutes.
minutes. Yeah.
31 minutes. That's a lot of time for Caleb Martin to be out there. Not necessarily. I mean, at best, he's a 3. He could be playing 2 in some lineups.
Right.
I don't know. He's playing the 4 out there. He was like going up against Steven Adams, one of the biggest, most physical presences in the NBA, and not holding his own, as you can imagine. Miami lost a rebounding battle 47-36. It was pretty clear that they were not going to be able to do. Memphis is the number 1 rebounding team in the league. Miami is
Right.
hovering around 22, as we said yesterday, probably closer to 30 at this point after tonight's game. Just, I think that really took all the momentum out of them. Like, there were moments there where they would try an
Well,
attempt to kind of. Go ahead.
no, I think they knew they were going to lose the rebounding battle. By the way, Nostradamus was predicting that the Heat would win the rebounding battle tonight. That might have been the dumbest prediction Nostradamus has made so
Let's
far, and
not
there's
talk
been a
about that
bunch
one.
of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I do. They anticipated losing the rebounding battle, and in order to try to get back at Memphis and try to get them to play their game, which the Grizzlies had the Heat playing at their tempo all game long. The Heat just played PJ Tucker at center the entire first half. We did not see Omer Yurtseven at all in the first half. We didn't see KZ Okpala at all until garbage time at the end of the game. He didn't play any meaningful minutes.
Yeah.
And so their answer was, all right, let's go PJ at the 5. Caleb Martin's going to play some 4. This is what we're going to do. We're just going to outrun these guys. We're going to play small ball and just play their bigs off the floor. Part of that is shooting threes and forcing guys like Steven Adams and Jaren Jackson Jr. and all these other guys to play on the perimeter. The Heat took just 22 threes in this game, not just in a game where they were committed to playing small, but in a game where they were down by double digits. They never led in this game. They were down by double digits halfway through the first quarter. I don't understand why you're not shooting more threes to try to get back into that game. Not to mention that Duncan Robinson, Max Strus didn't even get in until the garbage time in the fourth quarter, even though you can argue the entire second half was basically garbage time. But Tyler Herro gave him a little spurt, got him back into 11. Still no Duncan Robinson, still no Max Strus. Duncan Robinson was okay offensively. He was 2 for 5 from 3-point range. He was spacing the floor. Defensively, there were concerns, but there were concerns all over the floor for them. I didn't understand any of what Miami was trying to do. You tried to commit to a small ball approach, and you probably did the worst job at it that I've seen in a very long time. And that's why you lost this game. I think you could have beat Memphis getting out rebounded and playing that way, but you didn't do a good job of it.
Yeah, we should note at least this was something they kept bringing up in the broadcast that Memphis has not had to work from behind, like as far as their deficit for the last 5 games. So they've gone like they've won 5 games straight without John Morant, and they've had the lead throughout that. They've never been losing at any point over the last 5 games. So clearly they're on a roll.
Yeah.
It was comedic slash tragic comic at some point because Steven Adams was just kind of just like reaching out over the rim and pulling down the board with one hand over Caleb Martin, and there was nothing anyone could do. You're kind of just watching him like stretch over guys, and he's just dominating completely with 16 rebounds, almost more than all of Miami's starting lineup. Not great. But Miami, to your point about three-point shooting, only 27% from three-point range, 6 of 22 overall. So not shooting a lot, not shooting particularly well, other than Duncan Robinson. Kyle went 1 of 3. PJ Tucker 0 of 2. He's been struggling from three-point range lately. So it
Yeah,
just
Hero went 2 of 4. He hit one on the move there in the second half that cut the lead to 11. But yeah, it's tough, and they're trying to. I understand that our explosives are trying to throw everything against the wall and see what sticks with all these injuries. We did see Markieff Morris warming up before the game. I
good
think they're
news.
hopeful that he could play Wednesday night, and that would be a big get, especially if Jimmy Butler has to miss more time. You need
Oh,
anybody in
he
that
will.
front court that you can get at this point. But
Yeah.
again, just you could question the game plan, but the execution, I don't care what your game plan was. The execution tonight, you just weren't winning this game.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into some player grades in the next segment, and then we'll talk a little bit about Miami's lack of size and athleticism because it seemed like it really cost them against a team like Memphis who has plenty of both. But first, just a reminder that Truebill is a sponsor for today's episode. Do you know why free trials renew without your consent? Because it's a business scam out to get you. Don't let greedy corporations pocket your money. Download Truebill to take control of your subscriptions. Truebill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need, want, or simply forgot about. On average, people save of up to $720 a year using Truebill because companies make subscriptions hard to cancel. Truebill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your accounts, and Truebill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in just one tap. Truebill has over 2 million users, and it saved them over $100 million. You could be next. Don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at truebill.com/lockedonnba. Go right now, truebill.com/lockedonnba. It could save you thousands a year. That's truebill.com/lockedonnba. And let me tell you about Theragun. Don't let the stress of daily life weigh on your body, whether you're an elite athlete or someone like me just trying to make it through the day tension free. Theragun can help. Theragun is a handheld percussive therapy device that releases your deepest muscle tension using a scientifically calibrated combo of depth, speed, and power, something Miami completely lacks. And it's as quiet as an electric toothbrush. The Gen 4 Theragun doesn't just feel good, it gets to the source of the pain by releasing tension using Theragun's signature percussive therapy, which goes 60% deeper than vibration alone. Whether you want to treat your muscle tension from working out, an injury, or just the stresses of everyday life, there's no substitute for a Theragun Gen 4. Theragun is trusted by 250 professional sports teams, hundreds of thousands of customers, and me. Try Theragun for 30 days, starting at just $199. Go to therabody.com/lockedon right now to get your Gen 4 Theragun today. That's therabody.com/lockedon. therabody.com/lockedon.
All right, thank you for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, so please go subscribe if you're watching there. All right, boys and girls, it's time for some player grades, and we are going to start with Kyle Lowry, who, on the night, here's his line, 17 points on 5 of 9 shooting, 1 for 3 from three-point range. He had 4 rebounds, he had 8 assists, but he also had 4 turnovers in 39, almost 40 minutes in game time, David. And so his grade today is a big old question mark. That's the grade that I'm giving Kyle Lowry, because on a night where you are without a healthy Jimmy Butler, a night without Bam, a night where you are playing from behind and nobody is really shooting well other than Tyler Herro in this entire
Right.
game, you have 9 field goal attempts in 40 minutes. And I understand that Kyle Lowry is the point guard and he wants to get guys involved. And I understand that, part of being the leader, the veteran leader on this team is getting guys involved. I get that.
Right.
But 9 field goal attempts in 40 minutes, that seems that's just not enough. And there are moments in that second half where he's going to that turnaround jumper in the lane, which tends to be that shot that he goes to when he knows that his team needs a bucket. You would like to see a lot more of that, considering that he was open from 3-point range pretty often and that the Heat just took 22 threes in that entire game. I just think that Kyle Lowry, it's getting to a point now where 9 field goal attempts is just not that's just not going to do it. And eight assists to 4 turnovers is an okay ratio. It's not awesome, right? You're not Chris Paul out here with the game on a string right now. It's fine for a point guard, but it like I said, it's getting to a point where Lowry needs to get more field goal attempts up. After the game, he was asked about it. He said, "Look, I'm still trying to figure out the balance of should I shoot more, should I shoot more, or should I shoot more?" And I think the answer is yeah, shoot more. Just shoot more. And you're kind of getting the sense that he looked at that box score and maybe realized that. I would question that. Why isn't anybody telling him that during the game? Right? I think that's a coach's job. That could be a player's job. I know that Udonis Haslem wasn't with the team because he's got gastrointestinal issues, according to the Heat. But it's not. Haslem's not the only dude who can recognize those sort of things. I think there's a lot of people to blame there, but that's why I have him at a question mark. 9 field goal attempts in 40 minutes is not going to cut it.
Yeah, I can't disagree with your grade. Not actually a grade, but yeah, it is a question mark about his performance. As far as his aggressiveness is concerned, you'd like to see him, as we said, be more aggressive. But I'm also completely worried about the fact that he played 40 minutes in a stupid December game when you're obviously going to lose against a really good Memphis team without Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. Like trotting him out there, and I know the lead was 11 at some point, and it felt like Miami might be able to make a run, but not really. Like every time Miami was making a run, Steven Adams would go out there and grab 3 boards. Dylan Brooks would hit a stupid shot and then do his stupid little dance out there. They just never had the real kind of momentum to challenge this Memphis team. They're feeling themselves, and credit to them. Miami kicked their ass in Memphis. Memphis responded by doing the same in Miami. So it's a good team over there. They're young. They've got energy. As for Kyle's performance, 40 minutes, it's just way too much. I know you're trying to find some way of winning out there, but this is a cumulative effect here because then let's say you get Jimmy back at some point within the next week, because I still don't believe that he'll be available on Wednesday, no matter what Miami may or may not say tomorrow. Regardless of that, you've got Bam out till probably mid-January, and now you're going to probably lose Kyle to some regressive injury at some point too, because he can't rack up that many minutes at this point in his career at his age. Not a great look. So I'm a little concerned about the impact that this kind of extensive playing time might have on him. But let's move on anyway. Who's your next guy in your player grades?
The next one's Tyler Herro, 28 minutes, 24 points on 11 for 19 shooting, 2 for 4 from 3-point range. He had 3 rebounds, 4 assists, did have 5 turnovers. He keeps stepping on the baseline for some reason, but that's all right.
Everybody did.
I'm giving Tyler Herro a B plus in this game. He doesn't get an A because the Heat lost, and you don't get A's in a loss. That's this teacher's rules. But the fact that he was the only Heat player that was providing a spark. You keep using the word momentum, David, and I think it's a good word to use in regards to this game. But Tyler Herro is the only guy out there trying to create any amount of momentum for Miami. He came in midway through that first quarter when they were down like 6-20 or something, like whatever. I actually have it written down. 20-6. He comes in with 6 minutes and 6 seconds left. Herro checks in. They immediately score 4 points in like 32 seconds. He was the spark in the first half. He was the spark in the second half. He got that deficit down to 11, like I said, from 19 to 11 in that second half. That's a doable deficit. There was a point in that second half where the Heat could have come back and stolen that game, and that would have been a stolen game. I give Tyler Herro a B plus. He was the only guy out there playing with any kind of juice.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I know that the issues with Tyler are defensive, but he's the only guy out there, as you said, playing with juice and scoring, like any kind of consistency whatsoever. You needed that. You hope that maybe somebody like Caleb can make a big play defensively, or Gabe Vincent, or somebody else, maybe even Kyle. But if Kyle Lowry's getting 40 minutes, why the hell is Tyler Herro only getting 29? He should have been out there for a lot longer, because he was the kind of spark that Miami needed. I'm not sure why they went to Jimmy for as long as they did, why they went with Kyle for as long as they did, when it was Tyler who was most likely to be able to save Miami's chances of pulling out a victory tonight. They kind of let this game slip away. You don't like putting any kind of blame on Eric Spoelstra necessarily. I don't think it's quite at that point. but he made some questionable decisions, I think. At least that's what I'm hearing from our conversation here. Who you got next?
I'm going with Caleb Martin. 31 minutes, 11 points. He was a very impressive 0 in the plus minus, which is impressive for this game. But all that stuff is here is whatever. Here's my player grade for Caleb
Ooh.
Martin. That's my impression of the head exploding emoji.
Mhm,
It's not a great
I can
drawing,
see
but
it.
I only did it. I did it in about 6 seconds. So give me a break here. I just love that this dude is still trying to yam on guys in a 20-minute game with 3 minutes left. I asked him about it after the game. He's like, dude, this is just, he's like, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to roll over. I'm going to keep trying to dunk on guys. This is what I do. Even if even if we're down 20, I'm just not going to let them have that over me. And I love that mindset. It's the mindset that's going to take him from a two-way contract, probably to at some point this season, to a standard contract. He'll end up on this 15-man roster by the end
Yep.
of the season. And it's because of things like this. I should have included him in that energy conversation. We were talking about Tyler Herro. Caleb Martin isn't going to win you a game in the NBA, but man,
Right.
he plays with so much energy. You love to see him out there. I think he's gotten significantly better.
Yep.
Some of my critiques about Caleb Martin earlier in the season is he plays with so much energy that he's sometimes out of control, and a lot of that results in some negative stuff on the court.
Yeah.
There's not as much negative stuff lately, David. He's doing a lot of positive things out there. He's been thrust into really important minutes with Jimmy Butler out most recently. And he's becoming a guy who I think he's showing improvement. He's developing over the course of the season. He might be a guy that he can rely on even more at the end of the year. Again, they're going to have to call him into that 15-man roster.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a rotation player. We keep getting asked whether or not, should he get more minutes over Casey Opala? I think it's pretty clear. Like
I mean,
that
it's already
ship has,
happening. It's done.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that is the case. Spo feels much more comfortable going with a guy like Martin, has just 3 years of experience, is still a young player, and he's much better than KZ. He's much better than Yurt7, etc. He deserves it. I'm working on a piece right now for Forbes, and the thing I write about Caleb Martin is that whenever he's out there, you're going to remember him. Sometimes it's a mistake, but most likely it's going to be a strong play. It's either a deflected pass. It's going to be that yam on somebody's head, which is why I still think of all the predictions this week, I think that one might be the only one that comes through if he actually dunks at Alex Caruso because, Caruso might be hurt, but either way, he's a memorable player. Like they kept trying to go to that lob a little bit too much. I don't know if you saw as well.
Yes, agreed. Kept missing
Kyle, Lowry was trying to make
Yeah.
something happen with the hit-ahead pass. Jimmy at one point kind of really stumbled, kind of throwing a half-ass pass, no pun intended, but he was just, he was trying to force the ball ahead, and it wasn't working all for Miami at this point in time because Memphis just has too much energy.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to Caleb Martin. He's that spark. He's a guy who kind of provides as well as Tyler, a little bit of that energy to counter these younger, fast-paced teams. And we'll talk about this in the next segment because you face a team like Memphis, just like you have in the past with the teams like Atlanta that run the ball at a fast pace, or a team like Sacramento that always seems to give Miami fits. Why? Because they always play with such pace under Luke Walton. Even though they're a traditionally bad team, when they play a team like Miami, they always control the pace and flow because they're just much more quick, much more athletic. Something we'll talk about in the next segment, and I think it's worth bringing up to attention. But anyway, let me also tell you a little bit about Boost Mobile. You listen to podcasts for the power of knowledge. You switch to Boost Mobile for the power of saving money. Get 3 unlimited data lines for $30 a month per line and a free 5G phone when you switch, so you can get the latest episodes all on one of America's largest 5G networks. More power to save. That's Boost Mobile. Disclaimer: free phone limited to new customers and 1 per line. Additional restrictions apply. Offers coverage not available everywhere on or for all phone networks. See boostmobile.com for details. Just a reminder that you can always reach us via email at lockedonheat@gmail.com or via Twitter using the hashtag AskAlanHeat. Be sure to please subscribe to the show and leave a review. And please continue to send your feedback. It's important to us. So we put together a very brief survey with a link in the show notes so you can let us know about the show, how you listen to it. Just an opportunity to reach out to us so that we can get more and more feedback. Wes, we kind of talked about this in yesterday's episode, and I know we hinted at it throughout the show today. But Miami just seems to be missing a spark. They were getting it in stints from Tyler and in stints from Caleb Martin. But you see a team like Memphis, and man, they were just dominating Miami through their sheer size, through their sheer energy. Miami at a point now where they're at a complete disadvantage almost in every game because they either lack the size, the youth, the athleticism to counter some of these teams. And we saw early on that Miami was controlling the pace, having Kyle Lowry push the ball up, etc. But it hasn't been working out for Miami. They haven't been getting the rebounding edge. They haven't been able to initiate their fast break offense. Is this a concern for you moving forward? Because it just seems like Miami has completely gotten away from that early season identity, and they're getting dominated in every other aspect.
Yeah, I mean, this is becoming a problem where they are not as crisp as they were at the
Yep.
start of the year. Like those kick ahead passes from Kyle Lowry aren't there the way that they used to be. I think when the Heat are defending in the half court, they're okay, but they're having a really hard time defending in transition. And you've actually seen that be a priority of teams like Milwaukee, Indiana, and then Memphis tonight. They're trying to force the Heat's defense into those transition opportunities, even after the Heat make shots, even after the Heat makes. You see other teams kind of doing the Kyle Lowry thing against them and saying,
Yep.
all right, we're going to kick ahead. We're going to get you in transition. Kyle Lowry talked about this after the game. He's like, we can't defend in transition. And teams are taking advantage of that. And what is that? Is it a lack of focus? Is it a lack of legs? Is it a lack of bodies? Is it just a grueling schedule with a bunch of road games and some recent back-to-backs? I don't know what the answer is. I do know that the Heat are practicing on Tuesday, and when people are listening to this, and I guarantee you that's going to be a big part of film. It's mostly a film day. I think it's sort of a get what you need, but a big film review day. And you know that Eric Spoelstra and that coaching staff are going to be harping on that team. Like, look, I don't know what's going on in transition, but there needs to be a lot more focus. I think some of this stuff you can make up for with just getting back on defense and maybe not crashing the boards as much. I mean, the lack of size, this team is crashing the offensive boards. They're trying to get rebounds so much that I think teams are able to kind of counter that and get it out in transition. But again, that doesn't excuse transition points off of makes and stuff like that. There are a lot of things that I think that the Heat, they haven't practiced all year.
Yep.
They haven't practiced since the preseason. And I think that's starting to crop up as an issue. Like this team needs to practice more. They need to shoot around more. They need to have those sort of half practice days on game days. Like I know that this is a veteran team and that Eric Spoelstra is probably like, all right, maybe we don't have to practice so much. It's early in the season. You got to practice at this point because there's just basic things that are just killing this team right now.
Yeah, I think that he actually tweeted out that they will not be practicing on Tuesday. So I mean,
It's
they
just a
might.
film review. It's just film
Yeah,
review.
yeah. So that's one thing, but I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly where to take this, but it just feels like it's such a glaring problem for Miami that they can't seem to make up for their lack of athleticism and things of that sort. And I'm not sure what the change could possibly be because they are older. If they're not knocking down shots with any kind of regularity, or in tonight's case, not even taking those shots, then there's a complete lack of identity. They have no clear cut offense whatsoever because they don't have a fast break offense. They don't have
Right.
any kind of way of getting to the rim. They don't have anybody who can be a sure bucket getter in the paint, and you certainly don't have any kind of 3-point threat, any consistent 3-point threat. What do you have? A couple of guys that maybe can hit the mid-range jumper on occasion. Well, that wasn't the case tonight with Jimmy Butler kind of laboring through his injury and Tyler's minutes somewhat limited. So I don't know. It's just this is a bigger concern for a team that's kind of starting to slip a little bit in the Eastern Conference. Not kind of, they are slipping in the Eastern Conference
Yeah.
standings. And you've got a team like Brooklyn holding their own despite the fact that they haven't had James Harden and full strength, that they haven't had Kyrie Irving at all. They've been pretty good. And even with their lack of depth, et cetera, Milwaukee making a strong push, another big win tonight for the Bucks. I don't know if Miami's answer is getting somebody, making a trade. We've talked about it before. It seems unlikely that a trade is going to happen at some point soon, but
Right.
maybe even adding a free agent or something needs to be done because at this point, they're just not getting anything off their bench, really.
Well, I think we're really seeing the importance of Bam Adebayo here. I mean, when you talk about no
For sure.
identity, like he is the identity, right? All
That's
that
a good
dribble
point.
handoff stuff on offense, that's because of Bam, right? That's not
Yep.
because Omar Yurtseven is awesome at dribble handoffs. That's because of Bam. Defensively, like you're seeing Dwayne Dedmon just get crushed in transition. Why? Because he's a 7'1" lumbering center. He's not Bam, who's able to get out and do that transition defense. Bam can crash the board and get back on transition defense. He's that kind of athlete. Bam Adebayo is the identity of the Miami Heat. When he's not
That's a
out
good point.
there for 4 to 6 weeks, they need to reform an identity, and that's something I asked Eric Spoelstra about before the game, and he said, like, we need to get back in and just kind of this isn't about figuring out what we're going to be 3 months, 4 months, 5 months from now. It's about just sort of figuring out what we want to be these next, 4 to 6 weeks without Bam. And that's part of what I think film in these next couple of days and this homestand is really going to be about, because they've been trying just random stuff. Small ball tonight. Sometimes it's KZ Okpala. Sometimes it's Omer Yurtseven playing center. They've just been trying a bunch of stuff without any real results and without any real sample sizes. This team needs to get back into the lab. This coaching staff needs to get back in the lab. They put their heads together, get Jimmy Butler back and healthy, and figure out, all right, what can we do to win with this group right now, even with all these injuries? I think there's a way. It's the coach's job. It's the coach's job to figure it out.
Yeah, good point. Well, we'll be recapping Miami's game against the Milwaukee Bucks late Wednesday night, of course, so stay tuned for that. But coming up on tomorrow's episode, an exclusive interview with Zaire Wade, plus our conversation about Dame Lillard and the Portland Trailblazers and whether or not that team might blow up the roster and whether or not Miami might be the beneficiary of any kind of moves they might make. Thanks so much for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Remember that every episode is always free and available wherever you get the show. So make sure you subscribe to get the best coverage available. Make sure to also check out Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. This is David Ramil signing off for now. Thanks for joining me, Wes.
Dunk on him, Caleb. Congrats, you made it this far. While you're here, why don't you hit that subscribe button down below? It's free for you, and it'll help feed the Locked On Heat Flamingos.